guys, this is your boy here, Judah Yuki, giving you another Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc V episode 107 review for you guys. Once again, this is another really great episode. They've been knocking out great episodes every week, so this is really great. You know, the Xyz arc is surprisingly turning out to be really good. You know, some people had kind of low expectations because they didn't know what could be done in this arc to make it interesting. You know, because, you know, the whole Xyz dimension is destroyed, so, like, we were figuring, hey, you know, like, what could they possibly do, you know, there, you know, if it's going to be, if this little arc or this season right now is going to be focused on it. But, you know, they're managing to make it work, and making it work, you know, with the Xyz and Fusion Dimension, you know, going back and forth with different storylines. So they're making it work that way. But anyway, the episode starts off with Sayaka. She was giving food to, you know, the poor like she usually was, and she was remembering the things that Shun was saying in the last episode when he was fighting against Kaito, and all his words about comrades and how he knows the pain and suffering of losing people that you care about, and all, you know, all the stuff that he was, you know, rambling on about, I guess. And she was remembering all this, and she was feeling so guilty. She ran off, and she made a decision that she was gonna go and find Kaito and try to get him back to, you know, the resistance, because she doesn't want to be afraid anymore. She wants to find the courage inside her to, you know, do what she has to do and protect the people she cares about. Tuning off from this, Alan goes off chasing after him. He tries to stop him, but Alan doesn't trust him, doesn't care. He's like, oh, I don't care if Yudo's inside you or not, or whatever. I still don't trust you. We're not comrades or whatever. So he just goes running off in his rollerblades, which is interesting because the rollerblades he was using was the same rollerblades that we saw in the intro that Yuya was using. So that actually was brought here. I didn't think that was going to be brought here. I thought that was for aesthetic, but they actually brought it here. It doesn't look like it's going to play any main important role, or, you know, like riding duels or anything. I think it's just, you know, once again, just for aesthetic, just an easy way to get around, you know, just to have it there. But I don't think it's going to be anything like really important in the future. Those cool rollerblades. But yeah, then Shun comes by, and he's basically he's actually kind of funny because he's kind of taking control of everything, you know. And he's more to saying that, oh yeah, you know, I'm a Lancer, and he just says it so freely and complimentary, like, I'm a Lancer, like he's proud to be a Lancer and whatnot, and what they do and all this stuff. So he goes off and tells Gensaka and Sawatari, you know, like, don't slack off or whatever, you know, we're all gonna separate in groups, you two go off together, you know, don't slack off and this and that. He's just like commanding everything, and he partners up with and Shun partners up with Yuya, so which we'll get to much later. Moving on to the episode, Sayaka's running, trying to look for, like we said, Kaito, and then the Tyler sisters come in, thinking that Sayaka is one of the Lancers. She's gonna go and fight them because they were ordered by Caballero to go to the Xyz dimension to annihilate the Lancers. So she thinks they're one of them. So she's like, so they're like, yeah, I say she, but there's two girls. So then Alan comes by to protect her, and he tells her to go off and that he'll handle the duel herself. And then Sayaka, she's like, no, she wants to find the courage to duel. So she was actually the first one to start, I guess, quote unquote, dueling, like open her duel disc. So here we go, the duel begins. Alan is the one to go first. So the interesting part about him is, surprisingly, he actually runs a train deck, which Anna used in Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal. So there's going to be there's a lot of throwbacks in this episode, you know, to old archetypes from different generations, GX and, you know, from Zexal. So he runs the train deck similar to how Anna ran it, but she runs the, like, level 10 big beefy ones with high attack points and, like, really, I guess, negative side effects or whatever the case may be. But yeah, so he runs like lower ones, you know, level 4s and whatnots, train monsters. And Sayaka, she runs a fairy deck, which is the same. She uses Fairy Cheer Girl, the Xyz monster that Katsuri used in Zexal. Surprisingly, I'm really surprised that Alan was using trains, because when I first saw his design, and I assumed if any deck was going to be brought back, I thought it was going to be Heroics, heroic, because he looks like he could run the heroic challenger monsters. It looks like his style based on his color scheme and, you know, the style of his clothing and how he looks like. I thought, hey, you know, he'll probably run like heroics or something like that. But he ran the trains, which was very unexpected. It caught me off guard completely, because I was expecting something else, and trains is just like an odd choice that you wouldn't think of him. But now that I think about it, that just popped into my head. He has those rollerblades running around, you know, with the wheels and whatnot, wheels and trains and rollerblading. I don't know if that really connects that anyway, but somewhat similar, so I guess, you know. And also he, you know, he has that kind of really aggressive personality where he goes rushing in, and, you know, he doesn't stop for anybody. Just, so I guess in terms of his personality running that train, that kind of makes sense, because he, you know, he's very loud, and he rushes forward through things, and, you know, so he's a lot like that. So it's very interesting. It's a pretty fun duel overall. The Tyler sisters are obviously using their Amazonas, as we saw in the preview. They summon a new fusion monster, Amazonas Tiger, or whatever it's called. That monster is, I think when it attacks, it gains like 500 attacks, so it'll be 3,000. I think every time it battles an opponent's monster, after damage calculation, your opponent's monster loses like 500 attack like each time he attacks. So it's kind of like this loop thing. The other fusion monster, Amazonas Empress, which her effect is all Amazonas monsters could pierce while she's on the field. I think she had another effect maybe, but I think that was just it, because her Fairy Cheer Girl was in defense mode, and, you know, she pierced right through it. The Tyler sisters were very aggressive in this duel, super aggressive. It was very hard to kind of get around their little things. They have cards to the Amazonas Queen, which protects them from battle. Then you got that that continuous spell card that deflects any effect damage back to your opponent, and then on top of that, the combo that they had with the Amazonas, what was it called? It wasn't Paladin. Amazonas Swordswoman, that one, summons onto the field, and all battle damage is reversed when battling with that monster. They tried to actually do that, which Alan would have lost in that case. Well, Alan and Sayaka would have lost because it's a tag duel, so he would have lost. Pretty interestingly enough, Sayaka protected him, activated this Fairy Trap card that would negate all the battle damage we would have received, and then that damage gets added onto a monster you control. So she, you know, it got added onto Fairy Cheer Girl, so she became like 4,500 attack points, and then Alan used Fairy Cheer Girl to attack and deal some damage. I think they got the Tyler sisters down to like 1,500 at most. They didn't really get past that, maybe 15 or 11 around there. I know they didn't get past 1,000. I felt like Alan and Sayaka did a pretty good job overall doing them. You know, obviously, being that they're the Tyler sisters who brought down the Spade Brigade or whatever, one of the top schools where Shun and Kurosaki and all of them are from. But yeah, they're overall very strong, and they gotta, you know, unfortunately they're the first victims of them that the audience gets to see. So to go back a little bit, there was this cool moment where Sayaka, throughout the beginning of the duel, was very nervous. You know, she was trying to find the courage inside of her, but she couldn't quite do it. And you know, she was trying her best, and the Tyler sisters were making her kind of nervous, saying, "Oh, you guys are scrubs," or whatever. You know, I'm paraphrasing, but, you know, you guys are scrubs. You guys aren't very strong. It was kind of messed up. You know, they saw them as weak, so they were just kind of toying with them and stuff like that, and just abusing by attacking Fairy Cheer Girl constantly over and over again, just messing with them. And it was funny and interesting. Well, it wasn't funny, but it was interesting. Alan got mad at Sayaka because the Tyler sisters kind of got in her head, and then she kind of made a rash move without thinking. Because Fairy Cheer Girl has an effect that you could detach an overlay unit to draw one card, and she didn't activate that effect. She just set a card and ended her turn without utilizing that effect, which would have been very helpful. But she, you know, she was so distracted, nervous, and whatnot, and she kind of messed up. And Alan was kind of like yelling at her and correcting her, mostly yelling at her, which is surprising. He was yelling at her. He was really mad. He was like, "Oh, well, what are you doing? You know, she has this effect. If you use it, you get to draw a card. How could you not take advantage of your card's effect and this and that? He was kind of just yelling at her, and then she felt guilty and bad, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And then I think he blushed or something, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? It's not a problem. Whatever. We'll get him on the next turn. It's not a problem." You know, Dylan from Clues Gamers actually mentioned that Sayaka and Alan kind of remind him of the Yuma and Katsuri relationship in some ways, because Alan has a very similar, according to him, has a very similar personality to Yuma in the anime. And I didn't notice it 100% at first, and then he described it a little bit. I'm like, alright, I can see, you know. Yuma kind of rushes in head first. He doesn't really think about things too much, and you know, he never thinks, you know, he doesn't think a duel is over until it's over, and you know, he keeps on trying. He doesn't care if they're in a tough spot. You know, then he'll find a way out. That's kind of like Yuma's Katsubingu catchphrase, which he uses to motivate himself, which is like never give up and this and that. So I noticed that after Dylan from Clueless Gamers pretty much said that, so it was interesting, and now I see it. And then there was, you know, that cool scene where Alan was in a tough spot because the Tyler sisters were countering him or whatever, stopping him from doing what he wanted to do, and Sayaka said, "Oh, you could use my Fairy Cheerful's effect to draw a card," and then he got all excited, and we see an animation sequence where he's drawing a card, and the top of his deck glows gold, and the entire animation sequence, the way it was drawn exactly like how when Yuma would do a shining draw in the anime, and it was really interesting, and it was really cool to see that. I noticed that from the beginning. It was really fun just to see that throwback, you know, shining a draw. Obviously, Alan didn't say that, but you could tell, you know, with the golden card and how he drew it, you know, zoomed in the camera and then he drew. It was so cool. It was such a throwback, and it felt like such a Yuma moment. So I could get why the Yuma vibes were there. So it was just fun overall. He was trying really hard to hammer in. He drew like Limiter Overload and attacked with his Train Xyz that he had, his rank 4. And he tried to attack to finish it off. And then that's when the whole thing happens with the Amazoness swordswoman and reflecting damage and blah blah blah. I already mentioned all that. I kind of didn't do it in order because my mind is kind of spazzed out right now, but they lost the duel, obviously. Unfortunately, they lost the duel, and they were about to get their souls taken or turned into cards. That's when Gunzuka and Sawatari came in, and then we cut to a scene where we actually see like Aster in his throne or chair, and he's kind of pissed off. And no, he is pissed off. He's like really pissed off because he's surprised that he couldn't defeat Yusho's son. And he's like, "Oh, could it be because he's Yusho's son that I wasn't able to win?" So he just looks very frustrated and pissed off that he wasn't able to finish him. He wasn't able to kind of, you know, like easily like wipe the floor with him. And this rivalry with Sakaki Yusho is like really strong and intense with him. So I don't know exactly what happened with them. It's kind of confused. Like, there's not much to go on it. All we know is that they did duel, obviously, at some point. So I'm assuming that he lost to Yusho, possibly, and that's why that's one of the reasons why he hates Yusho so much, because he lost to him and he wasn't strong enough to defeat him. So he has this kind of revenge and rivalry against him that he wants to defeat him. It might be deeper than that. There might be more to the backstory as to why he hates him than that. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons, if not the only reason that he hates him, is because he was able to defeat him. And you know, Aster just seems very noble and very prideful in his position in Academia, and I guess he's thrown off guard if somebody's stronger than him, or if he's not able to take somebody down with ease, maybe. Like I said, he didn't say any of this stuff. I'm just assuming based on body language, how he's acting, and what he's saying. But yeah, so he's just pissed off about that. The guy from headquarters, one of the Academia top guys or whatever, he's going to go over to where the Tai sisters are. I forgot what he was going to go there for, but he's going to go over there. He didn't want to tell Edo that they kind of went off and were dueling the Lancers. So he wanted to keep that a secret. I don't really know why. I do know, based on what the Tyler sisters said at the end of last episode, that there's some kind of issue in between the Tyler sisters and Edo. I don't know what that's about. We'll get into that in the future. So that's everything that went on in the duel. It was a really great duel. The Tyler sisters were very threatening. Beautiful designs overall and everything. They were very threatening. Cool personalities. You know, the Amazoness deck, obviously cool. I love seeing that. Amazoness Empress, the fusion monster, that's definitely my favorite. I really love the way that looks. I love its design in every way. It looks really great. And yeah, I just liked it overall. A lot of nostalgia, you know, from GX R-Type, Amazoness. I know they were used originally by Mai also, but it was kind of like a mini sub R-Type. So that almost doesn't really count. It was only really used in GX, you know, by Tanya. So that's where it was most prevalent. Also, just something I thought of. There's another archetype that was revealed in the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, but was more focused on in the GX series, and that's Gravekeepers. So I think there might be a character from the Fusion Dimension, possibly, maybe even from the Xyz Dimension, but probably from the Fusion Dimension, that will use Gravekeepers in the future, and there'll be a new Gravekeeper Fusion, because I don't think they have any synchros or anything. I don't think they have any extra deck monsters. I could be wrong about that. I haven't seen them in a while, but I don't think they have any extra deck monsters. They just run, you know, their regular deck however they run it. So we might see an actual fusion for them, which will be great. Of course, none of this is official. I'm just assuming that since they're bringing old GX archetypes that probably got spotlight maybe once or twice, you know, like Anna and the Fairy Cheer Girl thing and the Amazoness, you know, those are like one or two time characters, that decks that were used, not very small. But anyway, Gravekeepers might come. I'll say that as one of my predictions. I honestly think that there might be a character that will use Gravekeepers, possibly in the Fusion Dimension, and we'll see a fusion for that, because that was used in GX. So we'll see if I'm right about that in the future. That'd be really fun and interesting to see a Gravekeeper deck and a fusion for it. Or two, or whatever the case may be. In the next episode, we're going to see the duel between the Tyler sisters versus Shun and Yuya, which is interesting because it seemed like Sawatari and Gongezuka were going to duel them, but they're not even shown in the preview. So there's only two options really. Either they lost, like in the very beginning, and then that's when Shun and Yuya come in, or they're there talking with them, and you know, then Shun and Yuya come by, and then they take their place instead of the duel, which is interesting. I don't know why or how, but whatever, you know. I hope that they don't duel them and then they lose for no reason. I think that'd be kind of pointless at this point. Like, why make them lose again? I guess just to show the strength of the Tyler sisters that they beat two of the Lancers again. But it's just like, you know, Dylan made a good point. You know, they do have enough losses already, and they probably don't need any more. I mean, I don't really consider losses necessarily a bad thing for a character, because, you know, when you think about win or lose, that really depends on the plot of the story and what's going on. And unfortunately, there are some characters that are going to have to be the sacrifices in certain duels to show off the strength of other upcoming new characters. So, you know, sometimes it's more based on story and you kind of accept that, but to me it doesn't necessarily diminish a character, you know, when they lose. It doesn't matter. To me, it's more of the content of what they offered during the duel rather than what was the actual outcome. At least that's how it is with me. But, you know, to each is his own. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. It'll be really fun. I'll see you guys next time for the next review. I really appreciate you guys watching. It's been great. Like, comment, subscribe. Tell me what you think. What do you think is going to happen? What are you looking forward to so far in the Xyz Dimension? Yeah, thank you guys for everything. God bless you guys. Gotcha.